Today I'm going to be presenting about the new detail in Studio. We've got a ton of stuff to cover, so I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as possible. I've got a couple images to show you, as well as to go over changes in the interface, some new features in Topaz Detail and Topaz Studio as a whole. Just kind of a lot to go over. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've got a few images loaded here, but I'm going to back out of the detail section to kind of give you a basic overview. So if I was to load an image into Topaz Studio, what I would see is something like this. We have several different um, areas of the interface. There is the effect panel, which is right here. This is actually the workflow panel, so you can pick a type of workflow that you want to do if you're wanting to do basic conceptual. These are also collapsible, so you can collapse each of these. And there's also another view here. If you'd like, you can go to the list view, which is right here, which I like to work in because it kind of lets me see everything to the side. The way you would access the new in-studio versions of the plugins are through the specialty section down here, which you can see right here. We have clarity, detail, and impression. Um, uh, it's no longer an external plugin that you access like you would in Photoshop through the plugins menu here. So if I have this open, which you used to access through the Topaz Labs plugin menu here, Detail 3, this will take you to the standalone version of Detail. The new way you would access the plugin is to go here and click on Detail. I've already got Topaz Studio open, so it's not going to launch. But if you're working in Photoshop, this is not an update to Detail 3. This is an entirely new version, Detail in Studio. Just like when we went from Impression 1 to Impression 2 or Detail 1 to Detail 2, Detail in Studio is a brand new version. So if you're trying to access the upgrade through this menu item, you won't see any of these new changes. Going back to Studio, I'm sorry if I'm jumping around, there is a lot to cover. We've got the effect panel here, which will show, once you click into one of these, if I was to click in detail, this will show me all of the detail effects. These are similar to the ones that are in the original program, as well as currently there's some user presets that are mixed in as well. We have the subcategories accessible right here through this drop down. You can do all of the subcategories available in detail. It's the same with impression, the same with clarity. These subcategories that existed in the plugin version are present in the preset panel right here. You can also search for effects by clicking this button, typing in what you want to search for, or this is kind of a modified grid view. If you just want a list of all of the effects available, you can click right there. I'm going to go back to this view because I like that better. There's also the image browser. Any images you open will appear in the image browser right here. Tools available have moved. If you look before, there were toolbars in some of the videos, older versions, there were toolbars here. Those tools are now accessible. Actually, they were on this side. Those tools are now accessible through the tools menu right here. Your cropping, healing, lens correction, masking, more options, which include resizing your image, rotating your image, flipping your image. You can do all that there. Apply and duplicate buttons that are available in this. If you apply, here's the difference. So if I was to take this image that I've worked on here, you can see that I have precision detail, channel mixer, basic adjustment, and smudge adjustments added. If I was to hit apply, what it's going to do is flatten that image and create a new image here with no adjustments, and this is flat. This is a great way if you want to apply more than one preset. So if I've done my custom work and now I want to add feature enhancement, I can do that, and now I have my second preset applied. The duplicate, I'm not going to save, oh, I'm going to save that. The duplicate method actually duplicates the image that you have here and your adjustment stack. So if I was to go to duplicate, it would create a whole nother image with the exact same adjustments. If I use duplicate and then click this, it's going to replace my adjustment stack with the preset or the one-click effect adjustments. So that's the difference in those two items. I know we've had some confusion there, so I wanted to address that. What else? The canvas, if you guys have used our stuff, you'll be familiar with this original view, so before and afters, which you can access by clicking this button. You can also hit the space bar, or you can click, and then we have zoom options to zoom in, zoom out, 100% or fit. View options here for split view, before and afters, for vertical, horizontal, side by side. That's all pretty standard. We also had a request to be able to change canvas color, so we got that here. You can click this button and literally pick any canvas color you want, hit OK, and it updates the canvas. Of course, I don't like that one, so I'm going to go back to, let's go pick screen color and go back to this gray, hit OK. And now I'm back to where I was. We've also added a new HD preview button. Some of the adjustments that you add will create kind of, so if I have smudge here, based on my zoom level, it's going to look a little bit different, right? If I reset this, here, just reset this real quick, and I crank this all the way up, if I'm zoomed in to a fit view, it's going to look one way. If I zoom in to 100%, it will change a little bit. So this allows you to see in a high resolution preview what it's actually going to look like when you export the image. So you can see right here with HD preview on, with it off, it's rendering in, it looks just a little bit different. So this is a way to allow people to see exactly what their image is going to look like when they process it. So those are some of the new features in the canvas. We also got, if you weren't aware, the notification center here gives you information on latest updates, sales, upcoming webinars, that kind of stuff. We'll be adding to that, but we're trying to make it as unintrusive as possible. So if you want to see what's going on, you can click this. You don't ever have to open it. Moving around, on the canvas, the scopes panel right here, this is all pretty standard. Let's see, you've got your histogram here, you've got your hue level, or your saturation is here, luminance is here, and then these are your hue scopes, showed what different colors are present in your image. We also have the navigation panel, so if I was to zoom in here, I can click this and drag. That's all pretty standard. And then, of course, we have the adjustments panel. The adjustments panel allows you to add adjustments, customize adjustments, rearrange. So if I wanted to turn off smudge, I can click the eyeball, turn it off. I can move it up or down in the stack and drop it wherever I want. I can add new adjustments just by clicking right here, click the adjustments button, add a new adjustment. You can also add adjustments from the top menu here. Adjustments, if I want to add impression, I can add impression here, make my changes, and I'm good to go. So that's a basic overview of the new interface. Within the adjustments, we have free adjustments, which if you're not aware at this point, Topaz Studio is free. You can access any of these 10 adjustments, all of the tools, raw processing, all of the masking in the free version, including layering with image layers. Everything from extraction to texture is a pro adjustment. You'll need to pay for those. However, if you're a plugin owner with clarity, detail, or impression, any of the things you see here, you can redeem. You get basically the impression adjustment or the detail pack, which is precision contrast and HSL, or I'm sorry, the clarity pack is precision contrast and HSL. The detail pack is precision detail and the channel mixer. You get those as a free upgrade. All you need to do, oh yeah, Carolyn just asked about this, so I'll show you. All you need to do is when you log into Studio, you need to log in with the same account that you purchased detail, clarity, impression underneath. So you need to verify that. You can go to the old plugin, the old site at the My Account page at topazlabs.com/my account, and just check and make sure that you have it there. Once you've logged in to Studio with that account information, all you need to do is go to Help and Validate Plugins. It will check your old account to make sure you own it under the same email address. Then it will create a new order on the Topaz Studio page for $0 that will give you all of the adjustments that make up clarity, detail, impression based on what you own. On the interface as well, you can always rearrange these. If I don't want to see the effect panel, I can click this button right here. You can see a little arrow, click that and close it. If I want to only focus on this image, I can close this. That gives me a lot more space to work, to zoom in, zoom out, rearrange, make my adjustments through here. So detail specific stuff now that we've kind of gone through that. If you're just using Detail in Studio, it is now ported over from the Detail 3 plugin to Detail in Studio. This isn't an upgrade to the Detail in 3 plugin. Like I said, this is a new version. Just like when we went from Detail 1 to Detail 2, Detail 2 to Detail 3, Detail in Studio will not upgrade your Detail plugin. It's a new version. So in order to access it, you will of course need to download Topaz Studio. Once you've, I'll just go here because I don't think I have anything, reset this. So let's say I've opened this image in Topaz Studio. This is what I'm looking at. To access detail, just scroll down to the bottom, or if you're like me, I don't like viewing that way, I click this button, and then under the specialty section, I can access detail. You'll see here the detail workflow. If you click that, it will add the adjustments that make up detail. So detail, the plugin had the detail section, which is exactly, it's the same as right here, a lighting section, and then a tone section. We have replaced the tone section with the channel mixer, which we think has a lot more power and control over color, but it basically gives you one-to-one functionality with the Detail in 3 plugin. It does work. Let me see, go back to my notes. It gives you one-to-one functionality, so you still have all the same functionality, plus a little bit more control over the color with the channel mixer. Instead of red, magenta, those changes, you actually get full control over your RGB controls. We'll address that in just a minute. Also, you'll notice when you open Detail in Studio, if I was to open, I can actually launch Detail 3 through here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll go to Plugins, I will go to Detail 3, and I can launch my Detail 3 plugin. See this processing that it's doing? It takes forever. I'm just going to wait for that. Waiting, still waiting, and still waiting. And now I can work. I can go in here and you can see same setup. I have my detail section, shadow highlights, I can set those, and I also have the tone section. We have color controls and then deblur control and masking. Much faster to access in Studio. All I need to do, I'm going to grab another image here real quick so you can see what it actually looks like. This pigeon is interesting. Drag, drop. There we go. I'm in the detail section already. And all I'd have to do is click here. No pre-processing. I can literally click and apply my effects instantly. No pre-processing needed. So it's a whole lot faster to integrate. That's all because it's based off the Topaz Studio framework. It's a whole back-end process. Allows us to process these images a whole lot faster. Thumbnails a whole lot faster. Output a whole lot faster. It's a lot more efficient and it's easier to use, we think. Getting into that, like I said, you can still access the old plugin if you want to, Detail 3. You can access through Topaz Studio as a standalone. You can also access the new detail in Photoshop. You go here, filter. Again, before, if I wanted to do it, I would go to Topaz Labs, Detail 3. It would open, do all the pre-processing. I'll go ahead and cancel that because I don't want to wait. Now, if I wanted to open it, all I need to do is, don't think it's going to let me because it won't let me in Windows. You go here, because I already have it open. Here, Topaz Studio, click on Detail. Again, it'll give me a warning because I've already got the application running. But it will just launch straight into the detail view, which you would see right here. Okay, sorry, I'm still trying to get through this. One of the great things about Detail in Studio is that with the plugin, you literally only had these two options, and then you have to hit OK and render back to Photoshop. With Studio, if you are working in Detail and you like this, but you're, oh man, you know, I'd really like to add some impression to this, or some deblur to this, or any of the other adjustments, it's really easy to do. All you have to do is go in here and go, man, I'd really like to add impression. I'll click that, and I've added impression. No rendering out, no rendering back in, none of that. I can immediately come in here, I can make changes to how I want my image to look, crank my opacity up. If I don't like it, I can always turn it off. If I'd like to put it, say, before precision detail, I can drag it up. I have complete flexibility to rearrange this however I want. I don't have to render out to a layer, then render back. If I ever want to come back and make changes to this while I'm working, if I've added 7 adjustments after impression and I come back to, and I want to make changes to impression, I don't have to go back and repeat all that work like you would with the previous workflow using only plugins. I can always come back here, even if I add, you know, contrast, I add tone curves, I can add all these things. If I want to go back and make changes, it's really easy to do. Just open the adjustment back up, change my brush, rearrange my settings through any of these adjustments. So it's a whole lot faster of a workflow to make changes, add additional stuff, and basically you can create now one-click effects that involve your entire workflow. So if you use detail first and then you want to throw in some impression, it's really easy to do that and save a one-click effect. Matter of fact, I'll just do that really quick. I'll show you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and reset to my original image that I have right here. I'm going to go into detail. I'm already there. I'll go to the stylized collection. Spring landscape, that looks pretty cool. Cool. Got that already applied. Now I want to add, let's just add impression. I'm going to go in here, add impression. Let's make it that brush. Turn the brush size up just a little bit. There we go. High density, paint volume up. Again, this isn't an impression deal, but I just want to show you guys how easy it is to do this. Then I'm going to hit Save Effect. The Save Effect button, again, right here, you can see next to the effect name. I'm going to make this Heath Bird Painting. A bird reset with detail and impression. I'm going to make this a, let's choose conceptual because it has some kind of cool stuff. And I'll make it an impression preset as well. And then I'm going to make this public. If I hit OK, it will take me to my effects. And you can see, I go down to, I think it's at the very bottom, isn't it? Oh, I have a ton of effects, I'm sorry. Scroll up. Portrait, kitty, Heath Bird painting, right here. That's already shared in public, so if you guys want to access that, you can do this straight through. You can already find this preset. If you search for Heath Bird painting or go to the impression category, you'll see it there. So it's that easy to share an effect and a whole workflow in Topaz Studio. On top of that, if I don't want to share it, I don't have to. I can always come back, edit it, make it not public, hit OK, and that will keep it from being public. It doesn't automatically share, you have to turn that on. But that's how easy it is to do this workflow in Studio. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my notes because I really like showing that. All right, now I really want to get into detail. I've been rambling on for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, don't save, and go specifically into the detail adjustment. So detail in Studio. You can see here I've already done some work, added precision detail, channel mixer, and a basic adjustment so you can make some color tweaking at the end. I've got this picture of a lion, found it online, I like it a lot, but I don't really like the lack of detail here in his mane. If I zoom into 100%, you can see it's kind of fuzzy, doesn't look very good. So I'm going to use detail to fix that. I'm going to zoom out here, go into a fit view. Cool, so you can see if I do before, after, no changes on my image. I'm in the detail workflow. And just to make sure, go here, click on detail workflow. And this is basically an empty one-click effect with no settings on it, so you can make your own custom effects with this. It doesn't have anything turned on. So even though I have these three adjustments, there's nothing applied in them. Since I go back to my notes. I want to start working, and I need to explain this first. So the way that detail works, most image sharpeners, if you apply a sharpening, what it's going to do is it's going to sharpen the entire image. And it's going to take the image and increase contrast just on the edges, but it does it to the whole thing. This causes halos, this causes artifacts. If you use the unsharp mask and ever taken a bit too far, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get these really harsh edges on the edges of your image. Detail is different. It doesn't work that way. It allows you to identify small details, medium details, large details. Those are actually based off the structure in your image. So to show you what I mean by that, I'm going to go ahead and use detail right here, precision detail, and flatten my image out. What I'm going to do that is I'm going to completely get rid of all the shadows. Oh, wait, wrong direction. Completely get rid of all the shadows. Completely get rid of all the highlights. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to remove all the detail. Take small details all the way down, medium details all the way down, large details all the way down. Now I've completely removed all of the detail out of my image, and I'll show you. If I zoom into 100% so you can see this, I know some people are looking on a smaller screen. I'll go over here to where the fur is. I'm going to turn up the small details all the way. You can see this is what makes up your small detail. It's very, very fine items, very small items in your image. Turn that down and go to my medium detail. This is larger details in your image. You can see right here it's pulling in the bigger clumps of fur. If I was to zoom out a little bit, you'll see it's also getting the big pieces of grass, really enhancing that section. Take that all the way back down. Go to the large detail. These are the big sections of large detail in your image. Big block on his nose, different parts of his mane, the mouth. So what does that mean? Well, of course, if I take just the large detail up, that doesn't look very great. I take just the medium detail up, that doesn't look very great. Take the small detail up, that doesn't look very great. But because you have this level of control, not just in your overall image, but specifically in shadows and highlights as well, I can combine that to make some really cool effects. So what I'm going to do is I'll reset, add the detail workflow, and then I'm going to go ahead and get to work. I'll start by taking up small details. You can already see it's pulling in a lot of that detail in its face. Zoom in a little bit. You can see it's also pulling in some tongue there. I'll take the medium up a little bit, and now I'm starting to get a little bit more depth in those larger areas. And then just to show the large, I'm going to go ahead and take the large up a little bit as well. I like that. It's still a little too harsh for me, so what I'm going to do is take the boost down. The boost is basically on the small end, it's the very fine end of the small details. I can take that down and kind of smooth this out. Medium, it's the same way. Everything that medium affects, the boost is the high end and low end of that. So I can take that down and you'll see right here, if I crank it all the way up, too much. Crank it all the way down, starts to soften a bit too much. I'll go right about here, like that. I'm going to come here to the large detail boost, take it down. And I like that a lot. Maybe it's a bit too strong. I might turn this down just a little bit. There we go. Zoom in. You can see before, after, the fit view, before, really kind of not very deep, missing a lot of this detail that I see in here. After, now I'm getting all of these fine hairs in his face. And I like that. But I'm also missing a lot of the detail that I found in the shadows. When I increase the detail overall, it's kind of crushing these blacks a little bit, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here to the shadows, and I'll turn up the small detail in the shadows a little bit. I'll turn up the medium detail in the shadows a little bit. And I'm going to do a little bit more than I normally would just so you guys can see this. Turn large detail. You can see that's only affecting my shadows. That's already a little too black. I'm going to turn that down to pull that detail out. And now you can see in the shadow area, it's really, really pulling back in right here in his mouth. It's really pulling back in. Turn on HD preview. Really pulling back the detail that you see in his mouth here. Also in the mane, I'm getting a lot of those fine details back. So yeah, really, really powerful tool. Really great on fur. Of course, there's a lot of fine details in that. So that's cool. What if I don't want to sharpen it though? What if I want to go the other direction? What if I want to make something artistic? Well, like I said, Topaz Detail isn't just sharpening. It's really allowing you to control the structure of your image. That means you don't always have to take it up. Sometimes you can take it down. For example, I've got this image here that I've taken the detail down on and made kind of a really dreamy artistic effect. If I zoom in here, you can see, I'll turn this on again. You can see I've turned what looks like a really nice field picture. I wanted to make it look kind of dreamy, a little bit graphic, I guess. I can do that really easily in Detail in Studio. So what I'll do, I will go ahead and reset here. I'm going to go into the detail, just to reiterate, I'll go into detail here. I'm going to go into my subcategory, the stylized collection. I already know what I'm looking for. I want abstraction 2. Go right here, apply abstraction 2. You can see it's done a lot to really make this graphic, but it's a little too graphic. I'm losing all the details that I like in the bluebonnets. Well, it's really easy to fix that in Detail in Studio without having to make any changes to the detail adjustment. I'm just going to go ahead and mask out of precision detail the parts that I don't want to be affected so much. Super easy to do. Just click here. You see this little circle with a plus? That's the Add Mask button. Click that to add a mask. Then I'm going to go to my brush mask. You can see I'm kind of getting a preview here. I'm going to change the radius up a little bit. And now you can see I've got my brush pretty big. I don't want to paint with black because I still want it to exist a little bit, so I'm going to do kind of a light gray, and I'll just start painting in. Over here, paint that out. Cool, that looks a little bit better. Like this. Go over here and paint the sky out. And now I've gotten something I'm a little bit happier with. I've still got, you can see here in my masking, I'm still getting that, you need to turn the brush mask off. Let's go here, click done. I'm still getting that artistic effect that I wanted, that softening to occur in the blue bonnets. It's just not as strong because I've got my mask I'm painted with a light gray. And I've still got it really heavily in the building because that's what I'm looking for. And I've pulled it out of the sky a little bit so that I can create this really nice artistic effect really quickly, and I don't have to wait for preprocessing. I don't have to do multiple passes. Let's say I even want to add another precision and detail. Let's say I want to, okay, I like this. I'd really like to pull some of the detail back out of that building. I don't even have to mask. I can come in here, add another precision detail, turn the small details up a little bit. Okay, that's not affecting what I want. Turn the medium details up a little bit. Now I'm starting to get that back in the building. Turn the large details back. There we go. Now I'm getting some nice depth in there. So what I'll do here, turn the shadows up. I'm going to turn up the detail in the shadows. And then, because I just want this to affect this version, I just want it to affect the house, come in here to the brush mask, hit masking, click on the brush, and I want to invert this. So I'll go into the hamburger menu here. I will click invert. Now it's hiding everything in this adjustment. Then I'm going to go in here and brush in. Because I'm painting on black, I'm going to brush in with white, turn my radius up just a little bit, and I'll just paint it in right here on this building. Again, if I was doing this for an actual image that I wanted to print or share or display, I'd go a little bit finer. But for the sake of the webinar, I'm just going to zoom in. I'm just going to do kind of a sloppy mask. I'm just going to paint in this building. And I like that. I kind of want to pull some of these trees back in too, so I'll do that. A little bit more detail in these trees. Easy to do there. There we go. Happy with that. Done. Just that fast. So I went from my original image. Close all these down. Went from my original image. I added a precision detail adjustment. Smoothed everything out. Also added some masking here, which you can see. And channel mixer to do a little bit of toning, which you can see here. Oh, wait, that's the basic adjustment. You can see I've made adjustments to the channel mixer here. Also bumped up the green and blue. Also bumped up the blue here a little bit to get kind of that warm pinkish tone that I wanted. That's part of the preset that I added. And then I went ahead and added the detail back into the trees here. If I still feel like it's too much, let's say I really wanted those trees to stick out, it's really easy to come back in here, go back to my brush mask, make this a little bit darker, turn this down, and I can even make changes to this mask just like that. Wow, that was a little darker than I wanted. Undo that and make this a little bit brighter. Go and run it over one more time. There we go. And it's really easy to make those kind of changes. Let's see. Cool. Now, next. So you can do, again, if I want to enhance detail, I can do that. Make this line sharper. If I want to do something creative, stylistic, I can do that. Even if I wanted to come in and change these colors, got the channel mixer adjustment. I guess now is as good a time to talk about that as any, since we focused on the precision detail. The channel mixer adjustment is basically the same thing that you would get in a Photoshop channel mixer. The only difference is it's really, really, really powerful. The channel mixer adjustment lets you take complete control of your color balance to create synergy or surreal color effects. So if I wanted to reset this, I'm looking at the original kind of color that existed in my image. I have here on the overall channel, this is your RGB overall balance. Brightness and the bright and dark of each of these tones. So if I want to take my tone down for the green, I can darken my greens. Pretty extreme there. I can also darken my blues, brighten my blues. I can also darken my reds, brighten my reds. Let's reset those. You'll notice as I'm adjusting this, it's adjusting the other two as well. That's because it's maintaining the overall brightness of my image, which you can see right here. I can always turn that off. This adjustment's really powerful, so it's subtle if you have brightness turned off. I want to take my blues down just a little bit. I can do that. There we go. I like that. I'll take my reds, make them a little darker. Cool, I like that. I'm going to brighten up the greens a little bit. Cool. Let's say those are blue bonnets. I wish that they were green bonnets. Well, I have complete control over the blue channel as well. I can go over here. And the way this works is this. Any adjustment I make to this red is what's going to be shown as red in the image. If I take the green up, it's going to make the green parts red. If I take the red down, it's going to get rid of more red in the image. So I can right now, as you can see, I'm going to reset this. The red value by default, of course, the red channel, red is at 1, green is at 0, blue is at 0. If I wanted everything that was green to be blue, it's really easy to do that. I'll make this 0, and I will make this 1, and now everything that was blue is red. It's really easy to switch that. Same thing for the green. If I wanted the green to be the red channel, I can get kind of a crazy look here. I'm going to make green into red. 1. There we go. Do the same for the blue. If I wanted to make that, make that red 2. It's going to be a lot of red. 0. Now I've got kind of this really cool effect. I can change these, adjust these however I want. If I ever want to reset it, it's really easy to do that. Just click the reset button, and it takes everything back to its original values. Again, maintaining brightness is going to adjust everything, but keep your overall brightness so it's not blowing anything out. It will adjust the other values to compensate. So if I take the red down, the blue's going to kind of go, and the red's going to kind of go up. Take the green up, the blue and the red's going to kind of go down. If I want to manage those independently, I can turn this off, turn the blue, make it brighter, darker, green, brighter, darker, red, brighter, darker. Like the red, brighter, a little bit, and right there. Pretty happy with that. You can also turn overall consistent brightness up and down. And if you want to, you can even take this into monochrome and then make changes here to darken the greens, take the blues up a little bit, take the reds down a little bit. There we go. Now I can make even a nice little black and white effect with this. Each of these also comes with adjustment level presets. So if I'm in here and I don't really know what I want to do, I can always click the preset button here and see the different kind of looks that this adjustment can create. We've got 4 to 5 adjustment level presets on every single adjustment in the application, even precision detail. And you get access to these even if you don't own the application, just so you can see what it's capable of doing. So yeah, that is the channel mixer adjustment and how it works. Go ahead and work on, I guess, more of an image that I would do. So if I go here, I've got a picture of my cat. This is Boca. Boca loves to get in trouble. As you can kind of tell from the way he's looking, I think he's looking at the dog's food, trying to get into the dog's food. I don't do a whole lot of portraits of people. I tend to focus on animals, not necessarily a professional photographer. I do it a lot as a hobby. Also worked as a marathon photographer for many, many years. But I really like taking pictures of my cat. He's pretty photogenic. So I've got here already some work done. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. All right, so if I were coming into Studio to work, even wanted to do some detail, right away you can tell this cat way too dark. So I'm going to add a basic adjustment. Take the exposure up a little bit. Then I'm blowing my shadows out, so I'm going to take my shadows down a little bit. Also take the saturation up. Oop, that's blowing out the background. Don't want to do that, so I'll take saturation back down just a little bit there. Now to get, also missing, I have kind of a lack of contrast. It looks really kind of flat and gray. I don't like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add brightness contrast adjustment. This is also free. I'll come in here, just grab the contrast slider. Now the thing about the brightness contrast adjustment, I really want to warn you guys, this is made to do some crazy stuff. I literally asked for this adjustment because I wanted to be able to take my whites all the way white or make my image completely black. So you get an insane range of control with this. So apply sparingly if you're trying to make a perfect image. But I'm going to take the contrast up just a little bit. It's a little too much. Go. And now I'm ready to apply some detail. I have two options to do this. If I want to add an effect preset, I can click apply. That will flatten all the changes I've done so far. I can go into detail. I can add, let's see, I am in all. I want to go to the creative detail selection. Then I'm going to go down to overall detail medium, like that. Yeah, you can see the changes there. I'll go overall detail light. There we go. I like that. So that's one way to do it if I want to apply an effect preset. I don't have to. I can always come here, and if I wanted to, I can add the precision detail adjustment. And since I'm probably not going to do any color work with the channel mixer, I'll just work in here and go into 100%. I shot this on a 5D Mark IV, so it's pretty high resolution. Go into his little face. Really want to pull the details out of his fur, so I'm going to turn the small details up. Get his eyes punched a little bit more, so I'll turn the medium details up. And I'll also take the large down just a little bit to kind of balance it out. So to show you what I had before is on the left here. What I've got on the right is after my basic adjustment, brightness contrast adjustment, both of which are free adjustments in Studio, and my precision detail adjustment, which I just made. I'll go back to 100, wait, fit, and now you can see before, right here, the original image, and after I'm finished with that, and I've got kind of something I like. But you know what? I don't really like, it's not really pulling out the detail in his eyes that I want. So I think what I'll do, I've got that pretty good overall. I'm going to go ahead and add one more precision detail. And then this is literally only going to focus on his eyes. So I'll come over here. I'm going to take medium detail up a little bit, pull that in. I'll go to the shadows because it's in the darker range. And I'm going to turn the medium detail up there, small detail up there. Now I'm getting a really sharp effect on his eyes. I like that better. Take the mean tones up to brighten it a little bit. And I like where my black point's at. I'm obviously blowing out here. I'll correct that in just a minute. Actually, you know what? I'll have to do that in the overall because this is going to go into his eyes. So I will take this, I'm going to go ahead and mask it. I'll invert the mask, click the hamburger menu, and click the invert button. And now I can't see anything, of course. So then I'm going to go ahead and mask back in. Really easy. Oh, I'm painting in black. I'm going to here, click this, change your brush immediately to white, or change it to black. Really easy to do there. Click this, paint back in over his eyes. Over here in his eyes. Oh, goodness. Undo that. And done. You can see before and after there. Mask is right here. Oops, it only got one of them. I guess I undid a little bit too far. That's fine. I'll come back in here. I can always make changes to that. Make sure my mask is on white. Paint back in. Cool. Now I'm pulling his eyes in, just like I want. Come back here and close this. And since I'm blowing out here, you can see right here on my histogram, I'm blowing out on the whites. I'm going to take my white point back down. So I'll go into precision detail over here. And I'll just take my white point and move it down just a little bit until I'm off that edge. There we go. Go back to fit view. And here's my before. Here is my after. And you can see, really brought him back out. I kind of like to saturate him a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. I'll just add a basic adjustment. Turn the saturation up. Cool. I only want it to affect the cat, so I'll click the masking option. Go here to invert my mask. Then I'll add spot. I'll go ahead and paint with white. Turn my radius up a little bit. Make sure edge aware is on. And then with edge aware, I just need to make sure that I'm only getting my subject with the red circle and that the green circle is the outside of that. So the edge aware is only going to detect between the red and the green circle. It only detects edges that way. So I want to make sure that I have the green over the edge. Turn my softness up a little bit. Actually turn this radius down so I can get this ear. And there we go. Cool. Cool. I like that. So from again, before I started, after I started. Yeah, just really quick. Again, really quick and sloppy. Uh, so that's about that I have here. I know I've got a lot of people asking to show how to invoke through Lightroom or Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. To do that, though, I need to close Topaz Studio because I've already got it open. Windows will only allow you to run one version of Studio, and if you try to send it from the plugin in Photoshop, if you try to invoke it again, it won't let you open a second copy. That's Windows specific. It won't really let you do it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I've got all these images open. I don't want to save any of them, so I'm just going to hit Don't Save and apply that to all. Cool. Closes everything out, and now I'm back into Photoshop. If I wanted to, I know, I'm sorry, I'm going through a lot of information here. There's a lot to cover. All right, so Photoshop workflow. Super easy to do. All I need to do, first off, I want to duplicate my layer. The reason for this is that Topaz Studio supports transparency, but Photoshop doesn't allow you to use transparency with a background layer. So if I was to send filter, Topaz Studio, detail, open up Topaz Studio, and you can see, of course, it loads in immediately into the detail view. I've got my precision detail right here on the left, channel mixer on the left, detail workflow is loaded. I can go ahead and get started just like I would in the detail plugin. If I want to make changes, I'm just going to go ahead and do something really fast. Turn this up, make something kind of ugly looking, so it's obvious that it's really obvious that I made these changes. And cool. When I'm finished with this, I hit OK. And it's passed it back into Photoshop. You can see here's my original image. Here's the image that I brought from the detail in Studio back into Photoshop. So it's super easy to use the same workflow if you're used to using Photoshop. Lightroom, again, got all my cat images here, just images I've taken of animals around the house. This is Lou. I'm going to go ahead and use Lou for this example. I will go into Edit In, and I will pick Topaz Studio. I want to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. I've made a few adjustments, but I want to keep those, so I'm going to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. Hit Edit. It's preparing the file for editing. Opens up Topaz Studio. And then since I'm in Studio now, you can see it's created a copy, the TIFF file. You can see the title right here. I want to make changes. I go over here, click the detail button, pick the preset I want. I'm just going to pick a real quick preset. Let's see, before and after, it's a little bit of shadow detail. Let's do something a little bit more apparent. And we'll go with abstraction 1. That's really easy to tell that it's working. I'm going to come in here and make a few other changes. Highlight detail back up to pull his whiskers back in. And I'm going to take my shadows up just a little bit. Take my highlights down just a little bit. Move my black point because I'm looking at the image right here. I'm going to actually move my shadows up a little too high. Black point down. There we go. White point up just a little bit. There we go. And I hit save. It gives me save options. Save, hit OK. Cool. Now, it doesn't close Studio because when you opened through Lightroom, it actually opened up the Studio interface. But my image has gone back to Lightroom. You can see that. I minimize here. And here is my image. So here's the one that I sent originally. Here's my image in Lightroom, even though Studio is still open. When I'm finished, since I saved, just hit close or the exit button. You can see it's passed my image right back into Lightroom. Okay, that's all the workflows. That's everything that I've had to cover. I'm ready to go over some questions if anybody has them. I'll go ahead and open up Studio. And I'm ready to answer questions whenever y'all are ready. Boo. How do I save the changed image in Detail Studio back to Lightroom? Well, I just showed that. Patricia, did I answer your question? Is that all you needed? Does it put Topaz Studio on the plugin map of Lightroom to start it? Yes. When you open when you install Topaz Studio, it should automatically show up as an edit in option. If you don't have the ability to do that, um, we have a help article that'll help you with that. So it's really easy. Again, I'll show you how to do that. I'll get a picture of Poppy here. This is my dog Poppy. I'm going to edit in Topaz Studio. I didn't have to do anything to set this up. It should automatically populate. The only stipulation there is that the when you install Topaz Studio, you have to have Lightroom closed so it can detect and set up everything that it needs to with Lightroom. If you're using Lightroom, it won't always install correctly. Oh, Joe, you're sending me stuff. I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't see that. Give me 1 second here. Since masking is possible, any time to show the brush function. I think I did that a little earlier. Who said? Kevin Knight, is there any advantages to using DPL on a duplicate layer and using luminosity blend mode, your usual workflow? You don't have to necessarily do that in Studio. Let me see if I can, I'll just go ahead and do this just to show you again. Edit in Topaz Studio, or I can select it here, and it will open it up. If you want to do that, you don't, and you're working in Photoshop, you don't even have to save that layer back into Photoshop, Kevin. You can, I'm going to go ahead and pick detail, impression on accident. Pick detail here, and go to, let's just do highlight detail strong. So there you can see it's affected. If you want to add another layer of precision detail and use the luminosity mode, you don't have to render this back to a layer. All you need to do, precision detail, right here. If you want to do stuff in the highlights, you can do that here, or I'll make something really, really aggressive in the overall image. So that's extremely aggressive. And then I can come over here, select luminosity blend mode. So if that's your typical workflow and that's how you like to work, you can still do that. You don't even have to use Photoshop. You can do that directly right through Studio. Does that answer your question? Cool. Let's see what I'm looking for as far as histogram, balance of color, color spike. Suzanne, you asked what you're looking for in the histogram. To me, that entirely depends on your image. Again, I'm not a professional photographer. I don't teach workshops or anything. I'm just really familiar with this workflow. You can see my histogram here is fairly dark. There's not a lot of highlights, even though there's just not a lot of white in my image. So it really depends on my image. I'm happy with this balance. If you're not, you can always make these changes here if you wanted to expose up a little bit. But I feel like I lose a lot of, like, to me, this is how she looks. She's got really, really bright white spots in her face and really, really dark fur, really, really bright eyes. So I'm happy with that. The one thing that you don't typically want is if I take my exposure all the way up, let me see if I can actually blow this out. You see how right here on my histogram, I'm getting this white line? That means I'm peaking on my exposure. I don't ever want to go that high. You'll get some weird artifacts, and it tends to look really bad. So I'll pull that down until you can see even the red and yellow is starting to peak. Pull that down just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take the highlights down. And now I know that I'm not peaking. You can see that here, right here in her chest, it looks super blown out. So when I'm doing exposure, I just want to make sure, number one, it's based off of course, the image. Number two, I always check to make sure that I don't have my shadows too dark and I'm hitting the edge of my histogram here. I don't have my highlights too bright and I'm hitting the edge of my histogram here. Okay, we can simulate tilt shift in detail. That's not exactly related to this, but we do have an adjustment that will allow you to do that, and that is where is it? Oh, I know it's here. Blurs, focal blur, to simulate tilt shift. You can do that with either a circular blur or a tilt and shift blur type. You can turn your blur up, turn the size of it up. You can change the rotation. I'm going to crank this blur all the way so you can see kind of what it's doing. Size up a little bit. You can see as I rotate this, it's creating kind of that plane of tilt shift. Really easy to do that. Cool. That's the next question. Let me look here. Okay, no more in chat. Exposure warning on the histogram. I've actually got that as a feature request. Right now we don't have any kind of exposure warning. We will be adding that in the future. It just hasn't been implemented yet. We're trying to see if basically warning you is one thing, it's easy to do, but if uh, correction after that, tools like some other tools, if you click that warning, it'll automatically correct. We're trying to figure out exactly how we want to do that. If we want to add an extra basic adjustment that automatically makes those corrections for you. If we want to make a new tool in the background over here that would do that for you. The one thing we don't want is in Photoshop, if you get a blown out and you click it, you can't undo it. It doesn't add anything to your workflow that you can change. It just makes the correction in the back end, and you can't fix that. So we want to make sure anything we're doing to the image, we give you control over. If we're correcting something, if it's blown out in highlights and you click it to correct it, we want to make sure you know where to find that setting so that you can change it if you want to. I don't know why you'd want blown out highlights, but hey, sometimes people want crazy things. Let's see. Anything that you don't own, if you want to try precision detail, if you download Topaz Studio, add the precision detail, any of these pro adjustments, that's from abstraction down to texture, you can get a free 30-day trial on. All you have to do is add the adjustment. I already own it, so you can see I've got like the options here. You won't see these, but what you will see right here is a little try pro button. If you click that, it will initiate a 30-day trial directly on your machine. No license key, nothing needed for that. And you can try any of, I think there's 16 or 17 pro adjustments now for 30 days. And it's not like one trial for all of them. Each of them individually have their own trial. We want you to be able to try it, make sure you like it before you buy it. Again, anybody who owns Detail, if you own the plugin, you get the Precision Detail and Shadow Mixer adjustment in Detail in Studio as a free upgrade. It's really easy to do that. All you need to do again is go to the Help menu once you're signed in with the same email address and click the Validate Plugins adjustment or Validate Plugins option, and it will validate all of your plugins and get you, if you own Clarity, it'll get you Clarity. If you own Impression, it'll get you Impression. If you own Detail, it'll get you Detail. As we move other products onto the Topaz Studio platform, you'll get those as free upgrades too. So really appreciate everybody coming out. Don't forget, if you want to learn more, you can always visit our website, web.topazlabs.com, to learn out more about Topaz Studio. You can always visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Topaz Labs. If you want to reach our forums, we have a really active forum that has hundreds and hundreds of people on it. Share stuff, talk to other Topaz users, feature requests. You can get to that at discuss.topazlabs.com. And if you need any help, you're having any issues you'd like support with, you can reach our support team at help.topazlabs.com. If you've got questions for me, you can always email me at webinars@topazlabs.com or sign up for upcoming webinars. You can sign up for that at topazlabs.com/webinars to see all the upcoming webinars that we have. Really hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to say goodnight to Poppy, and I hope y'all have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are.